Hey everyone, it's Stacey with NutritionJobs for another edition of our Dietitian Job Success. And I have a really fun guest with us today to talk all about our periods and how, as dietitians, we can have a role in working with patients who can help work with periods and fertility, perhaps, maybe even the end of the cycle, menopause. I can't even say it, like, right? And I think that's what's so fun about this is that my guest today is Heidi Moretti. Hi, Heidi.
Hey, Stacey. Thanks
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. It's so funny. So I'm just going to show everyone the book. Okay, I have my. There we go. There it is. I will link to it down below in the comments. You guys can check it out. I met Heidi via social media, and she has written a book. This is not her first book, but she's written a book called Period Fix. And I ordered it instantly. She also gave me some version of it as well. And I just thought it was fascinating. I think, and she also, you also bring up in here, like, oh, say the word period. I know, like, around my friends, we call it Aunt Flo. Like, there's a lot, and with my teenage girls, like, there's always like this word for it. And so I think you've done like this amazing thing just by talking, like the title is perfect, Period Fix. And I think it really impacts so many people. Can you give us a little background on what motivated you to write this book about periods and fixing periods from the perspective of a dietitian?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of motivation. I've had a lot of problems, so I think that was the big motivator. And I'd been to many doctors and gotten a lot of different advice, but most of it had to be related to using birth control to control my pain. And I mean, I'd be in doubled over pain and heavy periods, and then so when I was in my 30s after my daughter was born. I was getting this terrible pain in my left ovary consistently every month. And I'd had it, I had an ultrasound of it, and they're just like, well, we're going to call it, they called it Middlesmer's, and which just means mid-cycle ovary pain. Nobody knew what was caused, but hey, you can take birth control again, or you can take a lot of ibuprofen, which would mean it's mid-cycle and the pain would go for 14 days. And I thought, I need to do something different. That's not, as healthcare providers, we know that much ibuprofen is going to do a lot of damage over time. So that very day, I was so frustrated. I went into the health food store and I was looking around like, this has to be hormone related. Nobody's addressing my hormones, but I really need to figure what's going on. And there was this supplement called Estrosense, and it's a combination of broccoli sprout extract and some other natural herbal stuff. And within a month, it wasn't like my pain was lessened, it was just gone. It was gone. And so there I am thinking, wait a second, is anybody going to believe this? You know, and from there, I knew I had a story to tell, but it just seemed so unbelievable. And then, I've more or less figured out how to manage my periods through, natural ways to help keep them from being heavy. But what really, so at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, do I really want to write this? Though I don't know. Is anybody interested in something like this? And then perimenopause came in full force, and I said, okay, I do have a bigger story to tell because I was able to naturally fix my perimenopause. And it's just, I think we as dietitians are so able to help people in this. So that's why I really have tried to share with dietitians the story, and the power of food, the power of nutrients, the power of herbs are so great. So I know that's a big long-winded story, but
Oh, I think,
very.
well, I think it's super important because I think you hit on something really important there, that there is a lot of conversation about how to manage reproduction or cycles in general, but that information is mostly pharmaceutical based. And so I love how you brought your lived experience plus your expert background as a dietitian in functional nutrition, and I'll have you explain a little bit more about that. But that you brought that together, your lived experience, and able to share it with others. And you talk about sharing it with dietitians, but I think you mentioned in the book that so many women are suffering from period dysfunction, period pain, flow, or just a lot of different unhappiness related to our cycles, and how there are some approaches that you can implement to really make a change, to make a difference that doesn't mean just going on birth control. So I think you having that lived experience is really helpful. And maybe take a step backwards, and maybe you can share with our audience also what your background is. So you are a registered dietitian and also a functional nutrition dietitian. Can you give us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I went to school at Montana State University for my undergrad, and then I went to the University of Washington for graduate school and my internship. And I think I had this professor, she made research so exciting for me at Montana State back in the day. And I took this seminar with her that was, we just dived into all the research we could every day. We just like eating research for lunch, you know. So and then in graduate school, I was able to do some research projects. And then throughout my career, I've also done some clinical research trials. But I mean, it was just, I think that's my background and why I feel like the research that we need to help tackle a lot of health problems is out there. And it's just how to find it, because the finding it is so hard, even for me. And I talk about that in my book a lot of like, why did it take me 40 years to find out that iron supplements can help reduce heavy flow? You know, how
That
is
was
that?
fascinating, right? Like you would think it would be hand in hand, because if you're having heavy flow, your iron stores are lower, and so you supplement it. But maybe it's not continuous. Maybe it's just a therapeutic dose for like a week or 7 days, 10 days, whatever it might be, and then go off of it again. So I think that's one of many amazing pearls that I think are super helpful for both the reader, and then I think, if you're imagining like you're a dietitian and thinking, oh my gosh, that is something that could totally implement for one of my patients that's having this dysfunction. But anyway, so that is one of many pearls about iron. So tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, that's just really it. It's so exciting to, I think, be able to, I think dietitians have a knack for being able to hone in on research. And then I feel like I've, if I have a message for anybody, it's just don't be afraid to read a lot of research and find the right keywords. Because I mean, I couldn't find that until, I mean, I absolutely just stumbled upon that fact when I was blogging about iron. And then I mean, wait a second. You get down these really cool rabbit holes of, wow, this is amazing research that nobody talks about. And I think that's why I still write to this day in my blog and in, in books, because there is so much cool stuff out there that,
Yeah, yeah. So you have a couple different jobs. Can you tell us about so in addition to being an author, what are the other places that you work?
right now I work at Fresenius Kidney Dialysis. And so that's my day job. And I have my blog, which I tend to be an early riser. I write in the morning. Um, but there's not always time to blog when I'm writing books. So I have to pick and choose what I'm really passionate about. But I'm doing it for myself, and which is, I think, such an inspiring thing to, you know, do what fulfills me as a dietitian. And that has been a wonderful outlet, but has led to a lot of amazing affiliate projects and outreach, and people reach out to me. That's actually how I started writing books, was I started blogging. Um, I made every mistake in the book blogging at first, but 7 years in, I kind of got it down. You
What's the name
know,
of your blog for all of us?
it's thehealthyrd.com.
How did
So
you get that? Like, what year did you get that in such a good URL? Congratulations.
there's a funny story there. I had the URL, or it was dietdetectiverd.com, and I loved it. But there was a guy, he's in New York, he has the URL dietdetective.com. And he had said, he emailed me, I think you need to take your URL down now. It's infringing on my, on his trademark or whatever. And like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe this. I knew there was a similar one out there, but anyway, to be aware, be careful. There's not something close to, even though it's not the same URL as a diet. Yeah. Anyway, can of worms. The guy actually turned out to be so nice. He found me a new URL, and he's actually a
Oh,
lawyer. So I'm like, well, if I don't agree with the guy, I better,
that's
I'd
right.
be in big trouble. So,
So I
but
love,
that was,
yeah, I love how you have this nutrition blog. I think that's really helpful. How long have you had it?
I started in 2017. And so that's a journey, and things have changed every day, or, it's infinitely changed. Google is definitely making it more hard for dietitians. That doesn't mean it's not possible. I've learned to work around it and in way, but I think we just have to be savvy. And um, interestingly, my traffic doesn't change a whole lot depending on Google. I think once you get established enough, you still get the traffic maybe in different ways, but
Well, and
yeah.
also being able to demonstrate that you're an expert in the field, that you're, trustworthy and reliable, and that you're an expert. I think that probably helps. So it sounds like you really enjoy writing. I'm
Mhm.
always very curious from the perspective of other dietitians thinking about what fields to go into or new fields to explore, or maybe someone's looking for changing, maybe sort of changing the way that they've been working all along. Maybe they've been working as a food service director or something traditional that's takes a lot of hours, and maybe they want to sort of sunset. And writing, I think, and blogging is such a fantastic way to get information out there to our patients or to people, just consumers, with a very expert voice. And so tell me a little bit more about, so Period Fix is not your first book.
Mhm.
Tell us about your other books that you have authored.
Mhm. Yeah, my latest, I published in July of 23 a book called Gut Fix, and that one also was a personal journey. And I feel like I had a story to tell there. And I read, and sometimes this is my motivation when I read. There was this very reputable doctor who wrote a book about gut health, and but at the end, I read the book and I thought to myself, if I was a layperson reading this, I still wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have any tools. And and I mean, they talked about the microbiome, but mostly it was still talking about drugs. And I thought the gut is not about drugs. Not There's just definitely much more you should do way before you ever talk about drugs with the gut. So, I mean, I think sometimes my frustration with healthcare is what really motivates me to do differently, and at least give someone else who needs the help a voice, and some real tangible tools to help their health, and in safe ways,
Yeah,
because
yeah, you
Mhm.
say that too. You say that in the book. Like these are some, researched alternatives to medicine or to maybe some of the other interventions that the patient can control that are again that you've researched and can maybe have a huge impact on someone's cycle or just how they're feeling about and whether the gut as well. Like so I think that's really beneficial for the reader and really impactful as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And then I wrote another book called The Whole Body Guide to Gut Health. That one was in 21, and that was from a publisher I got paid from. And I think they publish a lot of dietitian books, Callisto Media, which it's really a good starting place because they help you figure out how to outline a book and how to make it engaging. And I mean, it's really, they walk you through it. Having said that, though, there's less freedom and there's less of what you really may want to say. So good starting place. But I think ultimately, I'm a huge fan of self-publishing now because it's you can really get the voice you want out there.
Well,
So
I'd love for you to share more about that. I have a lot of dietitians that will connect with me asking how to get into publishing, how to be an author. And I think that was another reason why I wanted you to come on here to share your insight on how to self-publish.
I really love it. It's not easy, not even close, but it's very fun and rewarding. There's I looked up a book. I think I was just looking up how to self-publish on Amazon, and then I found this book by Joanna Pan, and I read it. I think it's almost that exact title, and she made it really easy to outline like what you really have to focus on, and where you need to spend money, where you don't. And so it was really helpful. And then this time, so depending, I spent a lot of time or a lot of money on an editor with Gut Fix. But this time around, I thought, you know what? I learned the tricks she taught me. And so I didn't hire a copy editor. Rather, I hired some or um, commissioned some smart people in my life who are good at editing.
I love that.
So,
That's it.
but
Like I think I love how along the way, and it sounds like in each of your ventures that you've done, like there's been a little bit of foundation learning, and then you can take it to the next step, and some more learning, and then you can take it to the next step. And so back to self-publishing. What were the actual tools? What were the computer programs, or what were the tools that you used to make that happen?
yeah, okay. So Readsy is awesome. It's I think based out of the UK, but anybody can use it. It's a free editor. And what's amazing about Readsy is you can put your, you have your Google Docs, you have your whole book in Google Docs, you can edit there, upload it to Readsy, format it, and you've got a book. And you download it in the format that Amazon will accept, or if you want to do it through Barnes and Noble, whatever. Ingram Spark is another place to publish, and Ingram Spark then publishes it through Barnes and Noble and all those other places. So it's a little trickier through that Ingram Spark to like the formatting is a little slower to get it officially approved, but through publishing through Amazon is super easy. I mean, I hate to say that, but once you have the few tricks down, you can even like chat GPT, what dimensions do I need in my KDP publishing? So it's Kindle Direct Publishing, which is what you do for Amazon. And the other cool thing about Kindle publishing is that you don't have to have a stack of books on hand. It's print on demand. So you don't have to, well, I think I'm going to sell 100 books this month. I'm going to order them and then distribute, you don't have to deal with the shipping so I think that's made it really slick for self-publishers. And so definitely learning Kindle Direct Publishing, it's not hard. If you want to spend a couple $100, it's called KDP Rocket, which is Kindle Direct Publishing Rocket. And it's helpful because we might have the best book idea in the world, but if no one's looking for that book, or if no one's interested or not, and no one's thought to look it up, you might not sell them. So that's important to learn what people are searching for, what the competition is, because you might have the best idea in the world if 100 other people have also done that, and you may not sell. So it depends. So those are the tools I would definitely recommend determining if you're willing to, how much time you're willing to invest in marketing, because I don't know if I'm not unlike a lot of dietitians. I feel that marketing is daunting, and I've had to become a new person. I've had to be bold. I've had to reach out and step outside my comfort zone and just ask people to review my book over and over and over, please, because sharing the book is really where it's at. You have to get your book has to be seen to get sales. So you
And
have to give a lot away free before you get sales. So
that's so valuable. I think that really speaks to a lot of other people out there who are they have the idea to write this book, but then like you said, the idea of marketing it or telling people about it. That's one of my flaws is I have a lot of great ideas. I execute them and then move on to the next thing, right? So not spending the time marketing, but whatever you did, even though it was super uncomfortable, that's how I found out. And that's how I'm able
yeah,
to share it with our audience as well. And so little areas of, push or feeling uncomfortable can maybe work out in the long run, but ultimately to get it to people, and in the case of Gut Fix or Period Fix, like it's really going to help people. The information, the knowledge that you put together in this really great, easy to read way that gives a lot of very good specifics, nutrition interventions, and day to day, like what that looks like for a meal plan or what that looks like for recipes. You've got great recipes in there too. I think that really works. The other thing that I'm going to go back to that you mentioned about looking for a title or looking for a subject for the book. sounds so much like blogging in general. I'll
Yeah.
tell my personal story about blogging for NutritionJobs. I used to write all these articles about things that I thought were interesting, and I was going to share with my audience things about like how to write a thank you note after an interview, or how to maybe get a job in as a clinical dietitian working in oncology. Like I thought it was all super interesting. And then I was looking at my analytics, and I was like, what's this one blog article about the highest paid dietitian jobs? Why is it getting like the bulk of my traffic? And then that all sort of like came, like this convergence of, oh my gosh, you have to write for what your audience is interested in. They don't really care about the thank you note, although I still tell people about how to do that. That you have to meet your consumer where they're at and be able to be of service to them. So whether it's a client, a patient, a reader on Amazon, or for me, my readers on NutritionJobs, like it's all about being of service and meeting their needs with our expertise and being able to help people. So that's so interesting that blogging and authoring a book is very similar in that way. So I'm glad you
Absolutely.
shared that. I think that's really helpful for people. Um, I'm
Yeah.
I'm struck by your ability to just sort of persevere. I know that's sort of an overused word, but you've got an idea in mind. And again, like I said before, you can build upon past experience, knowledge that you've received and continue on. And I love how you've just like moved forward. So I'm very curious about skills that you have, either skills that you were born with or skills that you have worked on and improved along the way. Can you tell us a little bit how you are successful as an author, a writer, what those skills are?
Yeah, I guess I was born with tenacity and I was one of those kids in school that teacher, I know, like, I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. I mean, so I think being excited about the field and wanting to share with people, that's I guess whatever I do, I want to be excited about it, and I am. So I think just life's exciting. So
That comes across.
but
I mean, I feel it, right? Like you're very curious about something and excited to share that. Yeah.
yeah, oh good. I'm glad it came across because it's I mean, just I'm so blown away by, like, I've got saffron right here. And I'm like, I wish I could tell everybody about saffron right now, because it's so amazing. And and I think so that was a skill I was probably I'm it's innate to who I am, and maybe a little much for some people, but that's who I am. And so, and then as far as skills, again, I've had to really become more outgoing in terms of, you know, not really, and trying to also leave behind any sort of, like, if I get negative criticism, you know what? Everybody's different. That's okay. Not everybody's going to agree with what I say. That's because getting your book out there or a blog, it can be scary, and you might say something that someone else is totally against, and that's okay. I mean, even as dietitians, we don't all agree with everybody else in our field. So I think learning to just let that roll off, not always easy, but I try to, understand that it's going to be different for everybody, and they're not going to take what you say, and you're going to get some negatives. It happens. So
Well, I think, yeah, especially if you're out there being public and as long as you are putting forward information that's accurate, that's well researched, that has some validity to it, right? Like that it may be different than, for example, birth control for fixing someone's period. There might be some alternatives, which you give a lot in this book, but I think that's helpful, right? Like to know that being public is going to present some public discord maybe, or a lot of positives. I know that you've gotten a lot of positives just from being in that Facebook group and hearing all of the amazing compliments that you've received. So know that that's the majority of feedback I'm sure that you're getting. But you're right, like being able to sort of say, that doesn't really matter. I'm going to continue on with what I'm trying to do and how to reach more people as a dietitian. Yeah.
yeah, it's not always easy, and I can't be saying I always let it go, but I try to, and just do things to de-stress. And but that's really the skills I've honed. And writing skills. I look back at my early blogs, I was pretty terrible. So I don't think being a terrible writer should deter you if you want to write
Oh, I
either.
love that. That's really, really helpful, Heidi, actually. And that brings to mind, I'm always super curious about how you get better as a writer, or maybe you can tell us what a day in the life of a writer looks like. You mentioned before that you get up early, you like to write in the morning. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I do. I like to get up and my favorite things to write. And so I'll just think of something I want to write about. It might be turmeric, it might be saffron, it might be bromelain, but I want to find out more. And I dig around. I first do like a pretty good detailed search, and then yeah, that's what I do for writing. And I think it makes for interest in terms of what I can share, even in it. So it crosses over into my other job, I would say. So when I go to my clinic job, I'd be like, oh, guess what, doc? I learned about this. Guess what? Boron helps vitamin D be active. And he's like, huh. I said this to him today. I was at my clinic job. Oh, whoa, cool. And so yeah, we actually applied it to other realms. And so I never think blogging and researching is a waste, because it will help every aspect of my life. It'll help every patient I encounter. And so that's what I do in the morning to get the juices flowing when I can. And then as far as, you know, I'd say that the writing I took on initially, I did some research writing, so that helped. But also, I took on some freelance writing for a very rigorous website. At the time, it was called Self-a-Hacked. I think they've changed, but they were very critical. And they paid, but they're like, you need to do the work and do it really well. And so that helped me a lot in terms of citing things, but also just writing things in a way that were clear to people. And so I think that really helped. But then just doing a lot of it. I mean, I've done it 7 years and I'm still not perfect, but also using tools where you reread it over and over and over again. And then you know I don't really like AI. I think I don't, whatever. That's just my so
Right. Well, I think, yeah, I don't think you really necessarily need AI, right? Like, I think that
right.
you've got a lot of creativity, a lot of curiosity, and then the knowledge base behind it to be able to communicate something or a specific topic. It sounds like that's the value of reading your writing. And I was just thinking then, as dietitians who want to go into this field, like just reading your blog and getting a sense for the style that you've curated over the years, probably, and maybe the structure, sort of piggybacking on what you said before, like, learned from sources that were difficult to learn at the time, it sounds like, maybe, or just a lot of work that went into that process of learning and being able to produce something that was going to be accepted by that company, that really taught you a lot. And so I think, looking back on some of those resources for other dietitians can be helpful as well. Um, my other question for you was, a lot of dietitians have a lot of issue with the amount that we're paid, our salaries. Um, what are your thoughts on how dietitians can either make more money as a dietitian, or demonstrate different ways to improve their value, or show their value, not necessarily improve it, but show their value so that they can make more money? I just would like to ask what your thoughts are on that.
Well, yeah, I know. I think we're underpaid, no doubt, overall. And I guess as I get older, I get paid more in my jobs as far as so patience, but also I think in terms of writing, being patient, because it can come the pay, and sometimes you have to write to make money. I mean, there are blogs I write that are sheerly to make money. I mean, I enjoyed writing. So for example, I wrote about the best canned salmon, and I had many, many cans of salmon over 2 weeks that, yeah, I'm eating a lot of this to try it, because I really wanted to be authentic and like, is this the best? But and ultimately there's affiliate links, and I'm trying to make money, because really I don't care what the best salmon I pick what I pick. But so yeah, it's sometimes a little bit of toil in there, and then but that you never know where that leads because maybe some company will reach out to you. I read about your, and what you said about salmon and wow, that's fascinating. Could we do a project together? Maybe they are a fishery. I don't know. I have no idea, but I've had that happen actually a lot because I wrote this book and then I got another side project because of this book. They're like, hey, I see you're into women's hormones and stuff. So we're looking for, someone who can educate the public about this. So, like serotonin in the gut, that's what this new project is for me. So, which serotonin affects hormones, which affects periods, which affects, so it just, you never know where like this initial outset of writing will take you. So
That's fascinating. Heidi, this was really, really helpful. And I think you hit on so many different areas that other dietitians can benefit from authoring, publishing, writing, working in renal nutrition. Like there's just so much that you shared. I'm really, really thankful. Is there anything else you want to add, or do you have any offer for our listeners?
yeah, I mean, definitely. I would love to share my book with you. I can send you free PDF if you're interested. All I ask is an honest and fair review if you can on Amazon or wherever Goodreads, and I really do appreciate that. And the more eyes on my book, the happier I am. I really truly wrote this primarily to help people because of how I struggled. So I'm really hoping it helps anyone. If it helps one person, it totally is worth this book. So I think
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to share. And I really do appreciate this being able to join you.
I'm so happy that you were able to share all of your knowledge. It was super helpful. And everybody, I'll put all of the information on how to connect with Heidi down below. And I think you're also giving away a free chapter. So I will put that link for you guys down there. So thank you everybody for joining. And Heidi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Stacey.